All right, we do this every week. We're going to do it even in the low points of the season. 45-7, Sean, Sunday quarterback. Man, this is a tough one to wake up to. Huskers really didn't start well and it never got on track.
Yeah, the margin for error we knew going into this game, Andy, was little to none for Nebraska. And when Michigan jumped up on that opening drive, just a clinic the way they went down the field, then Nebraska turns it over and they score again. At that point, you're like, oh boy, this is real danger zone. And that 4th and 1 at the end of the first quarter was a pivotal moment. I mean, I felt like you almost knew the game was over at that point when they didn't get that 4th and 1 and then Michigan scored to go up 21-0. So it's a reality check for Nebraska. This is how far away they are from what it takes to play at what is now considered a college football level.
Heinrich Haarberg suffers his first loss as a starting collegiate quarterback. Matt Rule talked about wanting him to play more within himself, maybe trying to do too much. Maybe that 4th and 1 was kind of that when he tried to go up in the air, when really he might be had better results if he just lowered his shoulder and ran forward.
Yeah, it's almost like he was trying to take more there than he needed to. I mean, at that point,
6 inches, right?
Use your body, your physicality, and just ram in there. And I think he was maybe, I mean, you get greedy, like maybe get more than a yard,
sure.
And then all of a sudden you don't get the yard. So that was a tough situational moment in that game because you just knew at that point, Nebraska, especially the way their defense early on, I think if they're going to have any chance, it was like, okay, if their defense can move around, fly around, well, then Deshaun Singleton, who is playing as well as anybody, gets hurt on the second play. Luke Reimer, their preseason all-conference guy, not available today, hospitalized with some sort of infection. Cam Lenhart, one of their best freshmen, not available. So they were down 3 of their top 11 for sure in this game, and that's not a good lineup to go against a team like Michigan.
Not a good recipe at all. In fact, Nebraska came in leading the country in rushing defense, giving up 46 a game, and they gave up more than that, almost double that in the first quarter alone. And Michigan really did a nice job of taking the defensive backfield out of the run defense.
Yeah, and those NCAA rushing stats, for Jim Harbaugh, that was prime bulletin board material. Like, let's show these guys how a real Big Ten team runs the ball. Nebraska played Minnesota already, but Michigan is different. I mean, McCarthy, Corum, Edwards, that's as good of a running trio as you're going to see maybe in college football, the way they move those guys.
No question. And on the flip side, Nebraska couldn't run it all afternoon long. In fact, 106 rushing yards, but 74 of them comes on the Joshua Fleeks, shutout saving run there in the fourth quarter. Without that, the Huskers get shut out for the first time in almost, 30 years.
Yeah, that was way out of left field to see Fleeks in there. And I almost had to do a double check. I was like, is that Quentin Ives?
Yeah.
I mean, I was not expecting. Now, I knew Fleeks is fast, but we just have never seen him play. So maybe we will see Joshua Fleeks play more down the road. It almost felt, Andy, that Anthony Grant, they kept him at 6 carries, that they just said, all right, we're not even going to mess around. We need Anthony Grant for these final 8 weeks, 7 games, 8 weeks. We can't really mess around and trying to help Anthony Grant. So they pulled him or kind of took him out of that game early in the third quarter.
Yeah, Anthony Grant finishes with 6 carries for 16 yards. Not his best day, obviously. Special teams. This is a real big point of concern. It's growing each week, don't you think?
Yeah, from where we sit, it's hard to see how bad Alvano missed, but it was right.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister.
It gets you.
Wide right.
But third game in a row, he's missed a field goal to the point where, like, man, are they going to maybe give Timmy Bleekrode an opportunity? Because when they start playing some of these games, Illinois, Purdue, Northwestern, I mean, these are opportunities for Nebraska, and they cannot leave points off the board.
Now a good coaching test for Matt Rule. How do you keep these guys plugging forward on a short week? He talked about basically after the game saying, hey, you just watch and you're going to see what kind of team we have come Friday in Champaign. Yeah,
it's a weird schedule this year with a Thursday game and 2 Friday games, and you go to Black Friday. So Nebraska really with 3 non-Saturday games, but this, I think for Matt Rule, he's got to get right back to work Sunday, and they got to get this team prepared for Illinois. And Illinois is who they are. They had a tough loss against Purdue today. So Illinois is going to be desperate as well because they're having a rough year, a much rougher year than I think anybody projected for Brett Bielema.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's a short week. The Huskers play next on another Friday night, this time in Champaign-Urbana, taking on the Illini of Illinois.